Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to a deep dive, everyone.
Hello.
Today we're tackling one of Hercules' really curious tasks. His seventh labor, capturing the ferocious Cretan bull alive.
Yeah, alive is the key word there.
Exactly. You know, on the surface, it sounds like maybe just a strongman feat, right? But when you look closely, and especially when you explore the sources we're using today, this story is just packed with layers of meaning.
Absolutely. Our mission here really is to move beyond just the myth on the page and explore the rich symbolism, the bull itself, the specific labor across all sorts of traditions.
Ancient mythologies, esoteric stuff.
Esoteric teachings, even Freemasonry, yeah. We're pulling every insight directly from our stack of sources here, aiming to reveal some, well, perhaps unexpected connections.
It feels like it's about seeing this challenge not just as Hercules wrestling some physical beast, but as a potent symbol for mastering powerful, often kind of untamed forces.
Right. Both out there in the world and maybe more importantly within ourselves.
So let's start where it all begins, the myth itself.
Mm-hmm.
What was the setup for this seventh labor?
Okay, so King Eurystheus tasks Hercules with bringing the Cretan bull back to Mycenae, and like you said, importantly, he wanted it captured alive. Right. Now, this wasn't just any old bull. Our sources tell us it was born from Pasiphae, King Minos' wife, and a divine bull sent by Poseidon.
Divine origins.
Definitely. And it was apparently rampaging across Crete, just this force of pure chaos, immense untamed power.
Okay, capturing it alive. That feels like a completely different kind of challenge than just, slaying it. It wasn't just about overwhelming force, was it?
Not at all. The sources really emphasize that this labor needed a delicate balance. Strength, sure, but also agility and significant cunning. Hercules couldn't just charge in.
So what was his approach then? How did he manage to subdue such a powerful, divinely connected beast without killing it?
Well, the interesting thing is he didn't just confront its power head-on with brute force first. Instead, he used his kin intellect. Our sources describe him patiently observing the bull, studying its behavior, its habits, finding its vulnerabilities. It was, strategic. A calculated approach before the physical part began.
Like learning the rhythm and nature of the force before you try to control it. Smart. And when he did make his move?
It was a combination, really. That careful observation and skillful maneuvering, paired, of course, with his raw power, he wrestled the beast into submission, using his strength to contain its wild energy, but remaining steadfast, unwavering, despite the huge resistance. It wasn't about destroying the power, it was about containing it, redirecting it.
That distinction, subduing versus destroying, that feels really important. Seems like a thread that runs through a lot of the interpretations we'll look at.
It is absolutely central.
So let's zoom out a bit and look at the bull itself as a symbol. I mean, this creature pops up everywhere in ancient beliefs, doesn't it?
It truly does. The bull's been a symbol of, well, immense physical strength, obviously, resilience, and often divine authority across countless cultures for millennia. What's fascinating is how its symbolism kind of shifts and adapts.
Like in Mesopotamia, for instance.
Yeah, you see the Bull of Heaven in the Epic of Gilgamesh. There it's presented as this really potent force of divine wrath, celestial power unleashed on the earth.
Okay, pure destructive power there. Moving west, what about Egypt?
Egypt. There was the revered Apis bull. This was seen not just as a symbol, but as an actual earthly manifestation of the god Ptah.
An actual god on earth.
In a sense, yeah. And later it got linked to Osiris and the whole cycle of resurrection. So it's power, yes, but it's a grounded divinity, even hinting at transformation.
Interesting. And it was also a common animal for sacrifice, right? Which brings us to the Mithraic mysteries.
Yes. The tauroctony, that central ritual, the slaying of the bull by Mithras, it's incredibly symbolic.
How so?
Well, it represents the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. The spilled blood isn't just violence. In this context, it symbolized spiritual enlightenment gained through sacrifice.
Sacrifice of what, though?
Specifically, the sacrifice of the lower, sort of untamed self, or maybe the chaotic material world itself, in order to bring forth new life and order.
Sacrifice again. And there's a connection in esoteric Christianity, too, you mentioned.
Yes, the ox, which is essentially a castrated bull, right? It's raw power channeled, made docile. It's associated with St. Luke.
Okay.
And it symbolizes themes of sacrifice and service. The idea is that taming or redirecting the bull's raw energy parallels the spiritual refinement needed to serve a higher purpose.
So it's taking that immense force and putting it to work in a different maybe more constructive way.
Precisely.
And this powerful animal even shows up in these big visions of divine order.
Exactly. In Judeo-Christian mysticism, the bull is one of the 4 living creatures. You see them in Ezekiel's vision and again in the book of Revelation. Here, it symbolizes earthly power and is strongly linked to the element of earth representing the fixed stability of the material world itself.
And those 4 creatures, the man, the lion, the eagle, and the bull, they're significant in other systems too, aren't they?
Absolutely. They correspond directly to the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac: man for Aquarius, lion for Leo, eagle for Scorpio, and bull for Taurus.
Right.
Together, they form this kind of cosmic cross, which is often seen as symbolizing divine order and the grounding of spiritual forces within creation. It really underscores the bull's connection to the fundamental material aspect of existence.
So, building on all these ancient symbols, how do the more, let's say, esoteric and astrological traditions interpret the bull? Beyond the physical, what kind of force does it represent there?
Well, in esoteric traditions, the bull often embodies the forceful, dynamic aspects of the divine as it interacts with the manifest world. It's raw strength. It can be both destructive and constructive.
A duality.
Exactly. It's like the primal energy underlying reality, mirroring that fundamental balance or maybe tension between order and chaos.
And this ties into practices like Hermeticism and alchemy. How does that work?
Yes, very much so. In those traditions, which are really focused on transformation, transforming matter, transforming consciousness, the bull is often seen as the prima materia.
The prima materia.
The first matter.
Right. The raw, untamed foundational substance of creation. It's this powerful, latent force that must be understood, worked with, and shaped by the adept, the person seeking transformation. You don't just destroy it, you refine it. Shaping the raw material. That really echoes Hercules shaping the bull's energy, doesn't it?
It does, absolutely.
Astrologically, we know it's linked to Taurus.
Taurus, yeah, ruled by Venus. On a basic level, it embodies stability, material abundance, sensual pleasures, and definitely that stubborn persistence.
We all know a stubborn Taurus, maybe. But in esoteric astrology, Taurus has a deeper meaning related to the bull, right?
It does. It's seen as representing the actual manifestation of divine will into physical reality. It's the grounding point where spiritual energy takes form.
Spirit becoming matter.
Essentially, yes. Stability, tangible presence.
And you mentioned before there's a connection to a specific energy center in the body.
Yeah, this is fascinating. Many mystical traditions associate Taurus with the throat chakra.
The throat. That seems counterintuitive for a bull symbol.
Right. But think about it. This symbol of dense earthly power and grounding connects to the power of the spoken word, vibration, creative manifestation through voice. It's about bringing things into being, grounding ideas into reality through expression.
Wow. That's a striking connection. Taking raw energy or an idea, the bull, the prima materia, and using focused intent and expression, the throat chakra, manifestation to give it actual form.
Precisely.
Okay, so our sources bring all of this together, framing the seventh labor as this potent metaphor, particularly relevant within Freemasonry. How does capturing the bull relate to that specific path?
Well, within that framework, the seventh labor becomes a powerful metaphor for the Freemasons' own journey of mastering personal will and passion.
Okay.
The bull, symbolizing that powerful divine energy and earthly force we've been talking about, mirrors the potent internal forces within each person, desires, passions, ego that need to be understood and balanced.
So again, it's not about eliminating your passions or desires, but about subduing them, directing them.
Exactly. Subduing them so they can be used constructively, for spiritual growth and purposeful action in the world. Hercules' method.
Right.
His patience, observation, strategic approach, his steadfastness. It all underscores that this mastery isn't just brute force against yourself.
Right.
It requires mental discipline, understanding, and a skillful redirection of that inner power.
It makes the bull a really complex symbol then.
Yeah.
It represents both the, let's say, lower, untamed aspects we might struggle with, but also that powerful, potentially divine energy that needs to be directed towards higher purposes.
Correct. It's not just the beast within to be crushed, but the raw potential that needs to be harnessed.
Okay. And tying this mastery of internal forces, this skillful redirection, to a specific step on a symbolic ladder, and even a tarot card, our sources make a fascinating link here.
They do. This labor is connected in certain traditions to the second step of Jacob's ladder, which is associated with rhetoric.
Rhetoric? Okay, hang on. How does taming a bull connect to language and communication? That feels like a leap.
Well, in this context, rhetoric isn't just about giving a speech. It represents a higher application of understanding grammar almost, a sophisticated ability to use language and communication not just to, convey facts,
Uh-huh.
but to expand on subjects, clarify complex ideas, and crucially, to persuade or influence constructively. It's about shaping thought into powerful, effective expression.
Shaping thought.
Hmm.
Like shaping that raw energy of the bull. Okay, I see the parallel now. And the associated tarot card is the magician.
Yes, the magician. Think about the imagery on that card. You have a figure standing at a table, often holding a wand raised up, with symbols of the four elements laid out before them.
Earth, water, air, fire, the fundamental building blocks, right?
Exactly. And this imagery represents the power to take those basic components, those raw forces, and consciously shape reality to influence events through focused intention and action.
Ah, okay.
It aligns perfectly with that higher idea of rhetoric, of persuasion, using your will and your communication skills to bring about a desired outcome. Just like Hercules skillfully brought the bull under his control, not through brute force alone, but through intelligent action.
So it symbolizes skill, conscious action, communication, and the ability to bring ideas or intentions into the physical world.
Precisely. It's not just talking, it's manifesting ideas through clear purpose and skillful communication. The connection really reinforces that the mastery of internal forces, harnessing that raw energy, requires focused intent and the ability to articulate and direct that energy effectively.
Okay, wow. So let's try and pull these threads together then. Looking back at our sources, what are the core insights we've really gained from this deep dive into the seventh labor?
I think the fundamental takeaway is that Hercules' task here is a symbol not of brute destruction, but of subduing, containing, and harnessing a force of immense, raw, even potentially divine power.
Right, and the bull itself represents that force untamed strength, potential chaos sometimes, the material aspect of existence maybe, that needs to be understood and harnessed, not just eliminated.
And Hercules' method, that patient observation, the intellect, the strategic maneuvering alongside the strength, it highlights that this kind of mastery requires mental discipline as much as, or maybe even more than, just physical power.
And within traditions like Freemasonry, this gets explicitly framed as the mastery of personal will and passion, right? Balancing those powerful internal forces that the bull represents.
Yes, exactly. Seeing the bull as that really complex symbol, encompassing both our sort of lower impulses and that higher potential energy.
And the final link to the second step, rhetoric and the magician card. It really brings it back to the how, doesn't it?
It does.
It seems to be about shaping thought into influence, using focused intent and skillful communication, essentially, applying intellect and strategy, just like Hercules did, to bring that raw force or idea into a controlled manifestation with clarity, purpose, and ideally ethical strength.
It really shows that the tools for mastery aren't just physical, they are mental, strategic, and communicative. It's a much richer picture.
Yeah. This deep dive has really taken us on quite a journey from a classic Greek myth through all this ancient symbolism, esoteric interpretations, philosophical teachings.
It certainly reveals how a story that seems, fairly simple on the surface can contain really profound insights about managing the powerful, untamed forces both within ourselves and in the world around us. It's not just a story about strength, it's really a story about wisdom, strategy, and intentional control.
And the crucial role of intellect and communication in that whole process. It wasn't a mindless battle at all, it was a strategic dance almost.
Exactly, a controlled engagement.
So for you, the listener, maybe here's a thought to take away and consider. When you face powerful, potentially chaotic forces in your own life, maybe it's the raw energy of a challenging emotion like pride or frustration, or perhaps you're confronting someone else's strong, untamed reaction. How do you apply patience, observation, and strategy?
Yeah, how do you work to contain and maybe redirect that energy rather than just meeting it head on with force or, being completely overwhelmed by it?
Think about what helps you maintain composure in those moments. Is it a kind of internal observation like Hercules? A strategic breath? A careful choice of communication? That rhetoric piece?
What's your method for subduing, not destroying, the bulls you encounter, both internal and external?
Powerful questions indeed. That wraps up this deep dive into the symbolism of the Cretan Bull and Hercules' seventh labor.